Productivity of land is still one of the lowest on earth. And the range of connectivity. It's not failure of mental models. The Afghan has been trading for 2 millennia, but it's the failure of institutional arrangements to connect us. And beyond this story is millions of jobs. Agriculture is key to stability and to global security. An agricultural revolution is key to overcoming the challenge of narcotics. Let me pick up another strand. The word private sector first made its appearance in 1948. The word public sector made its appearance first in 1949. We are talking about oppositions that are no longer relevant and were not relevant throughout the first and second industrial revolution. My humble submission is we have to focus on market building and not just highlight private sector. Because when we highlight private sector, we could be still talking about trade rather than investment, value chains, supply chains, rather a system. The state, civil society, and the market are not in opposition. They require a unity. This comes under the agenda of market building. Had the laws that Mr. Ahmadi just referred to and for which we won the top spot as a reformer had not been promulgated, you would still. Tracking and bartering, as Adam Smith, may be natural, but marketing is not. So the shift is we have to have a coherent agenda of market building because it's market failures that haunt us. It's not just state failure, it's market failure. And market needs to be approached as an institution. First, it's a set of rules. Let's not forget that market freedoms were part of civil freedoms, one first in England and then across. The guild system was a restricted system. So these were freedoms that were won. They were not naturally granted. And as part of civil freedoms, we need to bring coherence to this. In here, without infrastructure, particularly energy, that is the infrastructure of infrastructure, we cannot get this changed. So my plea here is help us with the renewables revolution. The price of solar has come down to 3 cents per kilowatt. It's most likely going to come down to 2 cents. In the next 5 years, even hydro is not going to be able to compete with it. Afghanistan has the amazing potential of 220,000 megawatts of solar and 80,000 megawatts of wind. We are one of the windiest places on earth in terms of strong winds, almost the Scandinavian. It is this partnership that we need. We need to take a jump in energy, the way we took a jump in telecom, going directly to mobiles instead of lines, and I appreciate Mr. Bayat and other colleagues that helped with this. The distinction between the private sector and market building, I think, is important to avoid 2 things: bad strategy and a false sense of urgency. Bad strategy, unlike good strategy, is when fluff substitutes for action. Lack of analysis, but slogans. And we have had tons of this. With enormous respect for technical assistance, a lot of it is write a strategy, then to write a strategy. We need to prioritize. Good strategy, in essence, is very simple. What's the problem? What are the constraints? What's a lot of it is write a strategy, then to write a strategy. We need a true sense of urgency is about coherence, sequence, actions that are going to pay off, not just talk, not dozens of meetings without sense of purpose. We demonstrated true urgency in terms of creating the air corridor. In 1 year, it went from conception to implementation. In the second year, it's become global in scale. Why? Because the key to true urgency is to bring the existing elements and stitch them together. We've just brought existing elements together and brought them coherence and thereby made them system. 3, the main problem in Afghanistan vis-a-vis the development of the market is the firm. We cannot be focused on competitiveness with individual entrepreneurs. We must focus on firms. Some of my colleagues here are creators of firms. Competitiveness of nations is measured by the strength of their firms, not by individual capability. In terms of individuals, Afghans are fantastic, like the Chinese and the Americans and others who really have a culture of this. But the firm competitiveness is a different order, and the national competitiveness is a completely different picture. So what we require is a national strategy of competitiveness, because it's that strategy that would allow us focus and prioritization. Completely different picture. So what we require is a national request. We need to identify and deal with constraints. Our most fundamental constraint is that international institutions are basing their project assistance on projects. Their model of development is through projects. But no country on earth that I know of is grown and achieved sustainable growth on a project basis. We need to shift to programs and strategies. A strategy is not a simple list of amalgamating projects on the basis of sector. We need to have coherence. And this means particularly 4 issues. One is the constraints of infrastructure.
Let's take a look at how to configure.
The second industrial revolution in the United States happened because the problem of infrastructure was solved by private investors.
Periscope.
But Germany's investment was the public sector. So there are different models. How do we focus on increasing the quality and lowering the costs? And particularly, how do we connect regionally? Afghanistan's location in the next 50 years is going to be solid gold, because South Asia and Central Asia and West Asia are not going to connect on land without us. We are in the midst of a revolution and transformation. We have a 4 billion potential market, and we are denying ourselves access because of lack of the right infrastructure, both hardware and software. Renewable energy I've mentioned. Third is credit. The monetary policy is killing us, because it's medicine which was first formed for spenders in Latin America and East Asia that got out. How do we provide credit as a key source to entrepreneurs? I have hundreds of young entrepreneurs, but they lack access to credit. In this environment, entrepreneurial energy cannot be individual. It needs to become collective and supported. The next element are guarantees. Afghan investment is neither insurance nor guarantee. We are very grateful to the United States for having provided OPEC guarantees to Afghan Americans and to Americans, but an Afghan entrepreneur literally is taking a leap into the unknown. And this becomes really crucial, because if we are going to have a model of growth that gets us to 9% and in double digit, we need to be able to deal with this. Factory productivity I've already talked about, and the most important of this is skill development. Ms. Nadima Sahar is here with us, who's leading our vocational and technical education. We've got the wrong education. Graduate of the 6th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade is an unemployable person. If we don't go to a dual track education, which Switzerland so embodies, and Germany, Holland, and Scandinavia, we're not going to create the right skills. While we have unemployment, we have to bring tens of thousands of skilled people. This becomes the opportunity to be able to bring it together. My fourth and last point is, I hope what Mr. Ahmadi has stated, I didn't repeat it because he's done such an excellent job, and there's a text, is a message of partnership. Today in Afghanistan, you have partners in women, and a younger generation of Afghans. And the women are both young, so doubly counting. A maiden Afghanistan label and a maiden made by Afghan women label is one of our key desirables. The partnerships that we seek are with the big purchasers in Europe. You literally hold the key to empowering a woman and empowering the young. Because when you buy, that creates a different kind of bonding. And there are sectors after sector, from telecom to textiles, that can enable us to be able to form a range of connections that would be mutually beneficial. So the market as purchasers, the power of the purchasers, I think can be harnessed to deal with both poverty and instability on the one side, but prosperity and empowerment on the other. The other side of the equation is, of course, our natural resources. Our natural resources are estimated of being worth $1 trillion. But they remain on paper. It's a latent capital. In order for them to become manifest and to become a source of stability, we have created the legal structure. The mining law and the hydrocarbon law are among the very best, and now we have a structure of checks and balances where all the contracts are carefully reviewed by an international firm and within the structure of the government 2 or 3 times, so you can, I think you finally have the stable policy environment and the commitment and understanding that can move this forward. And last, connectivity. Connectivity does not mean connectivity of 2 computers. I would like to use the older word of connections where human beings, on the basis of mutual interest, compassion, and profit, can come together to form ranges of networks and understandings. And here, the type of knowledge that we need is that of design thinking, not planning. When you plan, you replicate old thinking. When you resort to design thinking, you solve a problem for a particular context. Online communities have done wonders in this regard with us, and given the insecurity and perceptions and reality of it, we propose forming partnerships with your universities, with your businesses, and of course with the governments, through online communities. We have 100 graduates of Berlin Technical University in information technology alone. It's a different Afghanistan. We are open for business. I hope you're open for partnership. Thank you. Yeah, of course. Thank you.
So may I just invite you to raise while President Ghani leaves us, and he's got other business to attend, and then we will proceed to exploit the power of expertise rather than